Just a quick announcement. It's 1 o'clock. We're going to wait just a minute. We don't have too many people signed up, but if you're here and you would like to comment, that's a little better. Okay, it's just a little after 1 o'clock. I think we will go ahead and get started. I could have a seat. All right, good afternoon. I call this rulemaking hearing to order. My name is Sarah Morrison. I'm the Executive Director at the State Board of Education, and I want to thank everyone for coming today to be part of this rulemaking process. Before we get started, I'll introduce the staff that I have with me. This is Amy Owen, our Director of Policy and Research, Nathan James to my right, who's our Director of External and Legislative Affairs, and we've got several others spread throughout the room. Amity Schuyler with the department, Elizabeth Fibash with the department. We also have Bob Eby, who's one of our state board members. He's here to listen and take notes, and we'll be taking all of the feedback from today back to our board members before the final reading in November. Just a reminder, please make sure you've signed in on the sign-in sheets over on the table and indicated to us whether or not you wish to be recognized for comment. Please also note that in addition to the feedback we collect today, we will continue to solicit feedback in writing until October 14th. There's information for how to submit feedback on our website and also on the sign-in sheet over on the table. As I've mentioned to some of you, all public feedback, as well as the recording of this hearing, will be saved and documented so that we can share that with our state board members before they vote on the rule in mid-November. State board staff will consider input from the public and present revised rules at that time along with the Department of Education. We're working closely on the requirements set forth in law with the Department of Education, the Attorney General's office, and the staff on our team at the State Board. As we move forward, please remember that the direction of the law must be followed in the rules that the State Board sets. The most constructive feedback is directly pertinent to the rules rather than attempting to respond to the underlying statute. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to the provisions of TCA 45204, governing the conduct of rulemaking hearings. In order to best facilitate the public input process, we'll simply be taking feedback today rather than engaging in a back and forth discussion on the merits. Very briefly, I want to give a little background for the hearing today and the ESA rule that's up for the vote in November. On May 24th, 2019, Governor Lee signed into law the Education Savings Account Program, which was PC 506. This created education savings accounts, or ESAs, for eligible students to use for educational purposes. The program provides options for parents of eligible students to choose the educational opportunities that best meet the individual needs of their child by giving them direct access to state and local public education funds. The program is currently slated to be implemented for the 2020-2021 school year. Public Chapter 506 authorizes the State Board of Education to promulgate rules for the ESA program. The proposed rule outlines requirements that processes for applicants, the use of funds, monitoring and compliance, participating school and provider approval, and other elements of the program. This proposed rule is being jointly developed, as I mentioned, by the State Board, the Department of Education staff, with input from the Attorney General's office. In order to make the program operational as soon as possible, Governor Lee has requested that the State Board of Education, in partnership with the Department of Education, move forward this fall with the rule promulgation process. I'll now recognize Amy Owen from our team for a few logistical reminders before we start.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you all for being here. Please remember to silence your cell phones, and also as a reminder, please limit your comments to 3 minutes to ensure that everyone who wishes to has a chance to speak. Remember, you can submit feedback in writing as well through October 14th. We will time each speaker, and I have placards to let you know when you have 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds remaining, and when it is time to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll go back to the list. And again, we don't have too many people signed up here. The first on my list is Representative Gloria Johnson, and she had maybe, so I'm looking to her to see if she's still interested in speaking. Okay. You can come to the podium and you just turn the mic on. There's a big silver button.
Okay, just a couple of things here. When it talks about the rule about a nonprofit stakeholder marketing, we'll get the information to direct mail. My concern is that this leaves the door open for organizations like Tennesseans for Student Success, American Federation for Children, those who lobbied for and will profit from this program, as well as the private schools opening just to accept the ESAs, as the ones who will be marketing the program and encouraging children to leave public schools for unknown, unproven private schools. Seems like it would be better for a neutral party to market the program, maybe the Tennessee Department of Education. Further, there needs to be something in the rule, perhaps under providers and post-secondary institution, that requires complete transparency on the part of the participating schools regarding the total cost of attending the school, including not only the tuition costs, but also technology costs, transportation availability or costs, participation fees, lunch costs, catered and cafeteria, have seen both offered, library fees, sports fees, need for iPads and other technology devices, and whether they're included in the tuition cost, book cost, etc. A private school offering tuition of $6,000 but has additional fees and costs that far exceed the approximate $7,300 deposited into the account may not be a very good option for a low-income family who cannot afford the additional cost over and above the ESA amount. They deserve to be fully informed of this before they make the decision to remove their child from the public schools. Another thing is about the application stations and no paper applications available. If ESAs are really intended to target the low-income families, it seems like it would be logical to make paper applications available. They're accessible to everyone and don't require transportation to application stations or internet access, and could simply be mailed out. My concern, of course, is that in the discussion on the House floor, we talked about this taking place a year later than the rules. I feel like the rules are being sped up. We don't have fully time to hash this out. And multiple meetings are scheduled at the same time so it's difficult to attend them. And we should not be putting such urgency on this process, and we really need to get it right because it's really going to upend the public school system as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. With that, we'll move on to Sister Mary Johanna Melody. If she's here and still would like to speak.
Good afternoon. Just very briefly, I've been working with individual families over the last 7 years, trying to help them to enter into private schools, especially as their children have gotten older. They've been concerned about the schools they've been in and have asked me, can you help me with the application process? And just to plea that the applications could be available in various languages, Spanish, I've helped Coptic families, just to help facilitate the process, and then to make the applications as simple as possible for these families who are very simple, good people, just wanting to take care of their children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those are the only two on the sign-in sheet who'd indicated they'd like to speak. If there are others in the audience, though, who've changed their mind and would like to approach the podium, please do so, and we'd be happy to take your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to provide an oral comment today? I was a teacher, so I can wait for a few minutes. It looks like the answer may be no. If that's the case, then this would conclude our rulemaking hearing. As I mentioned, we are still collecting written feedback. We've collected some already, but please encourage your friends and colleagues, if they have things that they would like to be taken into account before the revised rule comes to the board in November, to contact our office. Again, the contact information is on the sign-in sheet. We'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting today, too, if you need that information. And I just thank all of you again for joining us. As I noted before, the state board will meet at Carson Newman in mid-November. The meeting is actually November 15th. And so that will always be live streamed and available to you remotely for viewing. And we thank you for being here. This concludes our rulemaking hearing.